Hello and thank you for tuning in to Millennium Movies. So this is going to be my recap and review of Servant Season 4, Episode 7. And basically we have two pretty big things going on here. The first of which is Dorothy, trying to discover and uncover the connection between her and Leanne. As she learned last week, we've known for some time now. But as Dorothy learned last week that Leanne appeared in one of her old TV tapings when she was covering a beauty pageant. And we learned that Leanne was there. Dorothy interviewed Leanne and she found out that yes, it was further proof that yes, Leanne did have a very abusive mother growing up as a young girl, and basically with the help of one of her colleagues or former co-workers, Dorothy is basically discovering that every year since the day of her mother's death, Leanne has been visiting Dorothy on set, or not on set I should say, but when she's out on the field working and covering these different stories. And that's where the obsession began with Leanne in terms of her, taking a liking to Dorothy and wanting Dorothy to become the mother that she felt that she never had. But Dorothy was someone that she looked up to and thought, that is, the ideal mother. That's the ideal maternal figure that I want in my life. I'm going to make it happen no matter what. So that is a major discovery for Dorothy in this episode, and I thought it was well handled. I was really intrigued every time Dorothy was, uncovering the mystery, piece by piece, layer by layer. But the big thing in this episode, all the suspense and the dread and the edge of your seatness that comes with the Servant series really came with Uncle George's return and having him, speak to Julian and Sean and basically try and convince them of the fact that, yes, Leanne is a problem for you, but she's not a supernatural threat to you. She's just an ordinary girl who's just learned everything there is to possibly know about your family, Dorothy, and this house and the neighborhood that you're living in, and she has taken advantage of that to a T. But she's not a supernatural threat. It's just a regular girl who has a very psychotic obsession with your family. And this whole time that we're getting this sequence, I'm just like, no way. I'm not buying any of this. No way. It's like, but then once he gets to the end and he's kind of there and he's sitting down and it looks like he's about to come to tears as he's trying to convince Sean and Julian, and he apologizes to them as well and says, I even left the Church of the Lesser Saints. So he's doing a pretty good job, even though, like I said, I wasn't buying it up to that point. When we got to the ending there, I was like, damn you M. Night Shyamalan and all the rest of you writers. I really was starting to like, okay, wait, really? Is this all it's gonna be? Is just no. Leanne is just like incredibly obsessed, and she's just planned everything out to a T, and this is how everything has worked out so well. But no, because as Sean is saying, like, no, we've seen her do things to people that are not right. And, as Julian even said, when he loses his voice in this episode, it's because, at the beginning of the episode, when he's complaining to Leanne and sharing his concerns with Leanne, she bites him on the lip and says, you talk too much. And then, of course, she takes away his voice, literally, in this episode. And that is attributed to Leanne. And that's not something that's just, she knows what he's allergic to, or she's slipping him some pills to make him act this way. No. That is Leanne. That is Leanne's doing. That's her power. She is not, she is not normal. She is supernatural. And as we come to find out at the end of this episode, when Uncle George has successfully sort of convinced Sean and Julian, and Dorothy has sort of convinced herself with the tapes and learning that Leanne is just this ordinary girl who's obsessed with her. And when we get that dinner scene where the entire Turner family is just sort of treating Leanne, where they know, hey, let's just say the things that we know are going to push her buttons, because she's just a normal girl. She can't actually hurt us with these supernatural powers. They start doing things that are going to push her buttons and make her upset, and she even tells them as much as, you need to be careful. And I just knew we were gonna get that last second scene where we got in this episode, where basically Uncle George is whipping himself on the back, as we see with every other member of the Church of Lesser Saints does. He's whipping himself on the back. He's asking for forgiveness and saying that he's asking for forgiveness to forgive him for lying to the Turner family. But he explains that basically lying to them was the only way to get them on his side entirely, with no questions asked, to get Leanne back to the church for his own personal reason. Now, whether it's that the church wants to use Leanne's powers for their own good, or they want to stop her, now that remains to be seen. That is kind of completely, I feel, a little bit open-ended in terms of how you want to view it. I tend to think that I'm starting to think now, with the way that he's able to lie like this, I feel like maybe you could sort of view it either way, where it's like, do they just want Leanne back for her powers to do their bidding for them? Or do they want her back so they can put an end to her reign of terror on unsuspecting victims like the Turner families and the people who, come across the Turner family? That remains to be seen, but man, what a really great episode. Again, the edge of your seat, thriller, suspense of it all was what makes Servant a really good series and what made me fall in love with it in the first place. And we really got that with this episode. So, huge 2 thumbs up for me. I really enjoyed this episode. And just one little last thing that I want to mention before we end this video is that interesting enough, if you look at the description for next week's episode, next week's episode is in 4K. I don't think we've seen an episode in 4K. It's even saying it's supported with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. So very excited. I'm wondering, what is the creative reasoning for that? Why are we getting a 4K episode with like great video and great audio? And I'm wondering how that's going to play into the story, if at all. I imagine it has to, but yeah, just the one last little thing I wanted to leave you guys with. But go ahead and drop your comments down below. What are you thinking of this episode, and how are you thinking that this series really is going to end with Servant? So yeah, but if you guys want to stay up to date on all the latest in the world of movie and TV news, well, you're in the right place, and I hope you consider subscribing to the channel. This has been Millennium Movies, and I will see you all very soon.